Hey, what's going on? And welcome to No Filter, a Nintendo podcast. I'm your host, Wizrad, and this is episode 3, recorded on December 11th, 2017. How's it going, everybody? And yes, episode 3 already. I'm going pretty consistent here. I'm liking the consistency with these podcasts, and hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Again, please, if you have any comments or any suggestions you have for me, or just want to bring up any new topic you want me to talk about, please leave comments on my YouTube channel, No Filter and Nintendo Podcast, on my Twitter at Wizrad, or my email, nofilter_wizrad@hotmail.com. All those are in the description below. So guys, let's just get started right away with the news. I really want to get to the Game Awards. I have a rant to talk about regarding the Game Awards, as well as going over my predictions that I made from last episode and comparing them to the actual winners now. So let's get started here. Just a couple bits of news. First bit of news here is that the Switch sold the least amount of the three console manufacturers, Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo, whereas the Switch sold less than PS4 and the Xbox One in November. My thoughts about that are more of kind of like a duh. Like, of course, it probably didn't sell as well. But then again, you think about a holiday season for the first year for this system, you would hope that it'd top it out. But I think the problem here is that the PS4s were selling for under $200 in the States, at least. And same with Xbox. I believe there was a GameStop promotion for PS4, for example, where they were selling them for $200 or $199. And then you get a $50 gift card with it. So you're basically getting a PS4 for $150. That is ridiculously tough to try to combat, especially when you see the amount of PS4 games that were also on sale, whereas Switch had very few, and the Switch had absolutely no price drop whatsoever for the holidays. So I think third place in this instance is pretty respectable. I haven't seen the actual sale numbers yet. I imagine it did incredibly well, but trying to beat out the PS4, for example, and the Xbox One X was the brand new launch like that, trying to beat those out at such a low price point, that's tough to do, especially when, you go to the EB Games or the GameStops and you see these, you see in the store just all these PS4 games that are on for like 60, 70, 50% off. And, Nintendo Switch, at least in Canada, it seemed like there's maybe 3 or 4 games that were on sale and they were maybe like 30% off or something like that. It's tough to do, and Nintendo, I don't know what Nintendo has to do with this, because a lot of it has to do with the third-party games not dropping. But it's an expensive console to get, not because it's not worth the money to buy the console, but it's just the investment of all the games and everything after. I think it's kind of the it's like the rich system here, whereas other systems, look at like Assassin's Creed Origins that just came out, that was dropped to like what, $40. Persona 5 was down to like $40, $30. So many games that are released so soon for Xbox or for PS4, they are dropped in price so significantly in such a short amount of time. That's tough to try to beat, and it'd be great to see that happen with the Switch, but I think it might just have to do with the amount of games that are released for the system, and hopefully that increases with the amount of physical games released. But clearly, I think the PS4 has captured kind of the casual market, the casual gaming market that, what's the popular system to buy these days? That's also why you see so much shovelware on the PS4 now, and you wonder why maybe I should be knocking the PS4 because of all the shovelware you see. Go to any GameStop, go to any EB Games, anything like that, look on the wall and you see a ton of it. Same thing happened with the Wii, same thing happened with the PS2. If a game console sells well, it has a lot of shovelware. So either way though, I imagine all three consoles did extremely well. I think the actual numbers for the I guess from year over year significantly increased, but I think that's to be expected with a new system like the Switch out there, and Xbox One X released, and PlayStation 4 Pro and all that stuff. So so that's interesting. Second, and actually the last bit of news I'm going to talk about, is Street Fighter the 30th Anniversary Collection. So this was released, this was announced, 12 games in one, 12 Street Fighter games. I believe it's going for the full $60 price. I think that's, for the people who enjoy Street Fighter games, I think that's probably a good deal to get 60 of the games, 4 of them have online activated. But yeah, I'm not the biggest Street Fighter fan. The only Street Fighter game I've played is either Street Fighter 2 in arcades or Street Fighter 4 on 3DS. I've never been the biggest Street Fighter guy, so this doesn't really have me excited. I probably won't even buy it. But it is coming out for Switch, PS4, Xbox One, PC. It's coming out for everything, and I know a lot of Switch owners are extremely excited. And I think that is a huge selling point for something like this, to have all of these games on a handheld, which is pretty insane. One other thing I kind of want to talk about with this, though, is how, some companies don't give a shit about Nintendo fans or just the Nintendo consumer base. I don't know if there's any way around this, and this isn't as bad as some other instances, but for example, Ultra Street Fighter 2, that game that had the Way of the Hado and all that stuff that came out on the Switch, that sold extremely well for Capcom. I believe in the first couple weeks it was over 500,000 units for a game that was released 20 years ago. It's insane to see something like that. And where am I going here? So all these people that bought this game for, it wasn't full price, I believe it was $50 or $40 or something like that. Now they're sitting there with, oh wait, so now in March 2018 I'm going to be playing I can buy another thing but 12 games for just $20 more, yet you try to sell me this other thing for fucking $40. It's kind of a slap to the face again of the people that supported Capcom and support the Switch from the get-go. Thankfully, I didn't buy that game, but for those who did, I can totally understand why they'd be upset about this. But at least the good thing here, which is that it is releasing on the Switch as well. I've seen so many times where they'll do that, but then they'll release the game just on other systems anyway, and then there's literally no option for that person who's on the Nintendo platform to buy it. So, it's not as bad as what it could be, but that still is a reason to be annoyed. And hope in the best of worlds it'd be that Capcom would allow whoever who bought Ultra Street Fighter 2 on Switch to maybe get a half off or something like that on this game, because that's really what it should be, because that is really kind of a kick to the face. Anyway, so I'm going to be talking about the games I've been playing now. I just want to go over these relatively quickly here. Again, I have quite a lot to talk about following this, but first off is Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I don't want to give too many of my thoughts on it right now, but because I will do a full review later, but all I can say is that I'm loving it. Apart from this weekend, I've played it literally every single day for many hours. I pulled multiple all-nighters playing the game. It's completely has me hooked. And the thing is, over the weekend I went back to my parents' place, and so I didn't have a dock or anything like that. So I only had it in handheld mode, and because of how poor the resolution, if you guys know me or anything, the resolution snobs are the worst type of people in the world. They're just fucking horrible people. But the resolution really, really does drop so significantly in handheld mode, even if it's on a smaller screen. I think the whole Digital Foundry thing was 368p was the lowest they've seen it, which is really tiny. Is really small, and it is kind of significant. So when I'm playing through story missions, I don't want to play Xenoblade Chronicles 2 handheld like that. I used it over the weekend and I did some side quests and stuff like that, but I didn't want to go into any new areas. I didn't want to do anything like that, so I really didn't play it nearly as much as I wanted to. But that's all I'm going to say for now. But it'd be great if Monolith Soft could patch that, because it's perfect to have it as a handheld, and it still is really, really convenient. I did some side quests and stuff like that and played Tiger and stuff like that handheld, but the fact that I literally just don't want to go through any of these cutscenes or the story missions, seeing new areas for the first time or stuff like that on handheld, because it is such a difference from what it is docked. That's kind of it's a sad thing to see, and I hope they can kind of fix that, because I feel like maybe they had to rush the game out. Everyone was always saying they have to push it to, try to push it to get it to 2017, and I feel like they did, and maybe didn't optimize it for the handheld as much as they did for docked. So anyway, I think I talked about that a little bit too long there already, but next game I have been playing is a new game that came out called Floor Kids. So this was shown in one of the Nindy Directs earlier this year, and as soon as I saw it, I was incredibly hooked. So first off, just the art. So basically, this game is a breakdancing rhythm type game. Where like you'd see people in like a underground subway and they'd be doing like the spins on their heads and stuff, and there'd be like crowds around them, and it's like a very like hyped kind of a hype dancing kind of thing, and like really, really crazy talented dancers and dance moves all to the beat and stuff. So it's really stylistic, and whoever did the animation and the art for it, I fucking love the art for it's almost like a chibi art style for these characters, but it's just so goddamn stylistic, and it's so pretty in movement. It's like, think of like a Charlie Brown kind of a not hard drawn, but like kind of a sketchy look to it, but then this really smooth, cool kind of transitional animations. It's really, really cool to see. It's really just gorgeous. And the soundtrack is actually from a really good DJ producer, I guess. His name's Kid Koala. He actually did the soundtrack for Baby Driver, which is fantastic. The movie and the soundtrack. In fact, I downloaded the soundtrack as soon as I finished watching the movie. So as soon as I heard that he was actually the guy doing the music for this game, boom, right there. The whole presentation for this game is phenomenal. And as far as the actual rhythm game goes, I haven't played for too long, maybe about an hour and a bit, but I'm really loving it so far. I love rhythm games in general, and this isn't rhythm games like that. My comparison I made for this game is more of an ollie ollie kind of a game, where it's you perform your own dance moves on your own time. You got to keep to the rhythm of the song, but you do whatever you want to do, and you make a stylistic dance your own way, how you want to do, create combos, but there's nothing that you have to follow. There are some button prompt things that go at like certain special points of a song, but other than that, it is all just, again, I compare it to Ollie Ollie, which is a really good skateboarding combo based game that I think was critically acclaimed, and I think a lot of people tried it out. So if you enjoyed that game, definitely check out Floor Kids. If you enjoy really good hip hop type music, check out Floor Kids. If you like really stylistic pick up and play type games, I say check out Floor Kids. I'm definitely excited just to get going through it, but again, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is invading my life. So I haven't been able to put too much time into it. It's more of a pick up and play right now for me. And either way, that is really good. So that's it for the games I've been playing for now. I'm going to be talking about Rocket League a little bit next week, so stay tuned for that. So now it's time for Hot Matches, and this Hot Matches is going to be pretty extensive, and it's going to be talking about all about the Game Awards 2017. So I believe this was on Thursday of last week, and I watched... I got in a little bit late, so I didn't get to watch any of the pre-show. I believe there was a From Software announcement or something like that, maybe a Bloodborne 2. But other than that, I saw the entire show, and honestly, it was pretty good. It's the best Game Awards show I've seen thus far. No, it is not perfect, not in any sense of the imagination, not even close. But, this was respectable, and I've been following Jeff Keighley on Twitter and seeing how much passion he seems to be putting into this. So, I commend him for a job well done for the most part. And, I'm looking forward to next year, and yes, I will watch it. I've boycotted the Game Awards shows for the last 3+ years now. And this might have kind of turned me here. I think they did a pretty decent balance of announcements of premieres and the actual awards. Again, there's a lot they can improve on, and I'll be talking about those soon. But here are my thoughts about some of the stuff that happened throughout the awards show. So first thing I want to talk about was, I guess it was the Lifetime Achievement Award thing that they had going on with Carol Shaw. That was really cool. This really showed that this is an award show for gaming, at least in this instance here. And, it was really, really nice. I guess she worked for Atari back in the day, and just to have something like that really bring some kind of wholesome experience into this whole Game Awards show, and not just go about the big flashiness of military guns shooting and futuristic sci-fi work going on and just really going back to the roots of the gaming industry. I think that was really nice to see, and I really appreciated that. The next bit I want to talk about, which is kind of a rant on this, but I don't think it was worth having a full segment about, but this Joseph Fares guy doing A Way Out. He had, obviously you guys all know, he had his interview, I guess, with Jeff Keighley on the show. And, you know, he basically said, fuck you to everybody and to the Oscars or something like that. You know, throw the middle finger up to the screen, all this kind of stuff. And just kind of go on this big tangent. And clearly Jeff Keighley was a little bit uncomfortable. That was pretty funny. But, like, and again, I understand the comedic effect of it. And I understand why people are like, yeah, this guy's awesome. And, you know, he shows a lot of passion, which is nice. But you have fucking Andy Serkis, one of the best actors of our lifetimes, coming out like right after this basically, and you know, and announcing a winner for another award. And then you have this, like, you know, Andy Serkis, a class act like that, and then you have this like drunken asshole that goes up there and does that kind of shit. You know, like Jeff Keighley guy's been trying to make the award show more reputable, at least that's how it seems to be. And when you have a guy go up on stage and do that, swear at you say, fuck the Oscars, fuck the Oscar, you know, it just brings down the credibility of the entire show. Just for the mainstream, it brings that down significantly, and it kind of shows that the gaming industry has a lot of growing up to do still. Sure, it was just the actions of one guy and the rest of the show was very well done, but that was, come on, like, seriously, that should be avoided at all costs. Like, again, I appreciate the passion he had, but like, what the fuck? Seriously, what the fuck? You know, it just reminded me of all the crap that would have happened like 5 years ago or whatever. You know, like, I don't know. It just didn't fit with the tone of the award show, and I don't think that was good at all. But again, yeah, it was entertaining. You know, I like that he called out EA and all that kind of stuff. But that actually brings me to my next little topic I want to talk about, was all the shots at EA. So, the douchebag Zach Levi, or whatever you call him, his part was pretty funny. I call him a douchebag, but, you know, his part was really funny when he's going out to announce an award. Then I think, what does he do? He says, oh, sorry, I need a microtransaction to open this envelope. Then he pulls out his credit card and opens up the label or whatever it is, the sticker holding it together. You know, I thought that was really funny. I thought his was good. Him just doing like the awkward looks at the camera and stuff. I thought that was really good. And, you know, I appreciated that. The other one was Bethesda. They had a little segment. I guess I forget her name, but she was the original Wonder Woman. She was like talking about single player games and how they're not the end of single player games and stuff. And, you know, I get this whole movement of pushing back with single player games, saying like that's not the only thing. But I'm like, I don't think it was ever going to be that dire anyway about single player games. The more companies that go to this big multiplayer kind of games like PUBG and the League of Legends and all that kind of stuff, the more of those are going to fail, and there will always be the single player narrative driven games. There's absolutely no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's how it's always going to be. I don't see any change in that ever really happening. But then the other one again was Joseph Fares talking about EA and the loot boxes and stuff like that. So, you know, that was pretty interesting. You know, the three different times kind of taking shots at EA about some of this stuff, about games as a service. And, you know, I really like seeing that. And again, it's cool to see like within the industry what some of these companies are thinking, because a lot of them obviously wouldn't make a statement or anything about another company like that. They want to keep it professional. So doing little shots like this in an award show, I think is a good way to go. And Bethesda's always kind of done their own thing. So, you know, for as much criticism as Bethesda deserves, they, you know, have their own company. They make their own games. They're always of a relatively good quality. And, you know, they're doing their own thing. They're kind of like a Rockstar or a Nintendo or something like that, you know, where they're kind of straying away from the mainstream technically, but they're, you know, obviously dabbling into that. So it's really, really cool to see that. Okay, so now what I want to talk about is all the world premieres that they actually announced. So first premiere that I have listed here, at least, was Death Stranding. So I don't know. One criticism, sorry, not about Death Stranding here, but just the whole show seemed like it was just kind of sucking Kojima's dick a little bit, don't you think? Like, I get that, he leaves out Konami, but wasn't that like 2 or 3 years ago now? Like, Keighley was like just like all over the dude. Then they had Guillermo del Toro, and I don't know. A lot of it was just kind of sucking his dick, and it was a little bit weird to me. I've never been the biggest Kojima fan though, so it might just be different. Maybe everyone else wants to do that, but not for me. Death Stranding though, so very cool, trailer. It was interesting to see a bunch of what the fuck, and a lot of memes come out of the whole baby within Norman Reedus' fucking stomach or trachea or whatever the hell that was. I don't know, like, what the fuck is the gameplay? Like, I get it's cool and crazy and whatever, but what the fuck is the game? Like, I can't get that much excited when all I see about this game is 2 or 3 trailers of just random fucking shit in, I don't know. I'm not nearly as excited as most people are. My interest is peaked, but that's pretty much it. There's nothing to say about it. Bayonetta 3, fuck yeah, people. That trailer was hype. I am a huge Bayonetta fan. I am, first off, Bayonetta 1 and 2 coming to Switch. Fuck yeah, I am buying that 100%. Even though I have it on Wii U, I'm buying that 110%. Apparently there is a special edition. I don't know if it's going to be out in North America though, but if it is and has a steel case, I'm fucking buying that shit. I kind of want to do a whole Switch steel case collection. Like these steel cases, the Xenoblade one was so beautiful, and to see Bayonetta on one, ooh boy. So yeah, that's really cool. So yeah, that's something I'm going to definitely look at. But yeah, Bayonetta 3. So that teaser trailer comes back. Reggie does his whole bring up the that he has another announcement to make. And yeah, man, that was fucking hype. I am so stoked for that. It looks like that's probably going to be an early 2019 game, I'm going to guess. It seems, whenever they do those now in developments, I'm pretty sure that means that it's more than a year out. So I imagine that'll be a 2019 game. Yeah, no, that was hype, and I think it was a good place for Nintendo to announce that game. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I'm super, super excited for that. Another game they announced was In the Valley of the Gods. So this was from the creators of Firewatch. I never played Firewatch, but I did watch a Let's Play of it, and honestly, the game is really cool. That was one of the first times I've ever just watched a Let's Play instead of buying the game. So kind of feel bad for that, so I think I might have to pick this one game up just to support the developer, because I did like what Firewatch was doing, but I didn't give them my money, so I think I got to support them here. So I'll probably be buying that on PS4 when I get that. Next was the Champions Ballad DLC Pack 2. So this is what everyone was expecting to be announced, and yeah, no, that trailer was pretty hype, and then they leave you with a surprise with the motorcycle at the end. I don't want to jump in too much to that. To be honest, I kind of turned my brain off a little bit when I was watching that, because I'm still so fully invested in Xenoblade, probably for the rest of December at least for the rest of December. So I didn't want to focus too much on going back into Zelda. So I'm trying to just block off all of my attention from Zelda. I don't want to get spoiled on what the DLC is. I've seen some spoilers already, which really kind of sucks. But I love what they showed, and I'm interested in how this bike is going to kind of open up the world again. I think that is a really great kind of reward. Is that it's almost like a mod in itself of like kind of breaking the game, really opening up the world for different means of traversal like that. I think that's really cool to see. Next is Soul Calibur 6. So again, I don't have much care for Soul Calibur. I used to play this at one of my friends' places, but I never owned a Soul Calibur game myself. But yeah, we used to play Soul Calibur 2 all the time on GameCube especially. But yeah, it was a Nintendo Switch snub. That's interesting because, Namco Bandai has been really tight with Nintendo, and I thought for sure this would have been released on the Switch. And how I see it, Soul Calibur 2 is the best-selling Soul Calibur game out there. And the third best selling of the entire series on a certain console was on the GameCube. Only 500,000 less than the PS2 version. The PS2, which had more than 100 million more units than the GameCube, and it only sold 500,000 less. So you would think with their tight relationship with Nintendo and seeing how well Soul Calibur 2 did by having Link in it, you would think they would have had a discussion with Nintendo to say, hey, Soul Calibur 6 coming out on the Switch as well, we want Link in this game. And seeing how Nintendo's been kind of farming out their IP, I feel like Nintendo would have bit right on that. They would have been like, hell yeah, here, yes, Link in the game, make him the Breath of the Wild Link, boom, boom, money galore for everybody. But I guess they just didn't do it, so that was kind of a surprise. And again, if it had Link, I might have thought about picking it up, but again, I don't have that kind of attachment to most fighting games like that, at least like the side fighting games like that, like Street Fighter. So I'm not like crazy bummed about it, but I'm just more kind of interested in why or how that didn't include Switch, especially with their relationship with Nintendo and how Soul Calibur games have done on Nintendo systems. Other game that was announced, or with a premiere, which I'm honestly pretty excited about, is called Dreams, and this is from Media Molecule, the people who created Little Big Planet. So this honestly kind of rekindled my a bit of my memory from my impressions of the first Little Big Planet trailer. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that was such an amazing trailer with the music and seeing everything you could do. That first Little Big Planet trailer was really exciting and really something new that really, I think, was one of the first major selling points for the PS3. And that was really, really cool trailer. And I'm kind of interested to see if the creative kind of gaming community out there is looking for a game like this now, or is this kind of passed off with Minecraft being, so big, and maybe people won't kind of jump into it as much as they did Little Big Planet. So we'll see how that goes, but the game looks really cool. Another game they announced was GTFO, I guess just get the fuck out, and the whole thing just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. At first I thought it could have been a Left 4 Dead sequel or something, which was kind of exciting, but then just, I don't know, there's nothing that stood out to me there. I don't know, that's all I have to say for that. It just, the title just seems stupid too. It just, I don't know, I don't really see it. Last one I'm going to talk about, there were a couple other premieres, but the last one I'm going to talk about is Metro Exodus. I fucking love the Metro series. 2033 was awesome. Last Light was even better. And so I believe in E3 they had the first Metro Exodus trailer, and it looked so good. I was so pumped for it. But this trailer, clearly they've pulled back on the graphics. They pulled back on the scope. I'm still hopeful for the game, but clearly they bit off a little bit more than they could chew, I think, with the first trailers that they had for it. Anyway, that's the last of the world premieres I'm going to talk about. Right now, I just want to kind of briefly talk about what categories they had, but mainly the snubs, the games that were snubbed throughout the awards. So, first game that I kind of want to draw attention to was Horizon Zero Dawn. It got no wins. That is a huge surprise to me. I haven't played the game, but hearing from, the reception, it was rated very well. I'm surprised that they didn't give that one of the awards. Like, for example, I saw that Breath of the Wild got 3 of the awards. I was sure that they would give at least one of those 3 to Horizon, even if it might not be a better game than Breath of the Wild. I just thought they would have spread it out a little bit more. I just think it's kind of crazy, and I don't... I think, Guerrilla got a little bit, they got snubbed there. I think they deserved to win an award of some kind there. But again, I haven't played it myself, so I'll see. But, I'm very surprised with that. And the other game I wanted to talk about that kind of got snubbed, Super Mario Odyssey. So this is a weird one because it did win for family game. What the fuck kind of a category is that, by the way? It did win for family game. Cool. Super Mario Odyssey, the family game, even though there's actual games that you can play with your family, they were included in that category, but hey, I guess they got to give one to Odyssey. But my issue here is that it just seems so weird because Odyssey had some sort of representation there, right? It was announced for some awards, it was announced for Game of the Year and stuff like that, but even that one also didn't win much other than just a family game thing. one of the highest rated games of all time, and all it gets is best family game. I don't know. Either that talks about how amazing the games were this year, which it really was this year, has been fantastic for all systems. Well, mainly PS4 and Switch, but yeah, I don't know. That's just a really big surprise to me, and I'm going to get into that a little bit more later here. But anyway, so now I'm going to be going over the Game Awards, which ones won, and what my predictions were. And I can tell you right now that I am 14 for 28. So I am 50% correct in my predictions from my last episode. So take that for what you will. But a lot of the awards were for some random shit that I had absolutely no idea about that probably shouldn't have been an award in the first place. So yeah, let's get started. So first off is Game of the Year. And the winner was, yes, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And I got that correct. Honestly, when they were announcing the Game of the Year, I was kind of worried because when I first saw it, and I saw that Breath of the Wild won Direction and Action Adventure, I was like, oh man, they're for sure giving this to Horizon. They're going to try to split out these. They give Zelda 2 of the awards and then just give Horizon the Game of the Year or something like that. I could totally see that going, or maybe Odyssey as the Game of the Year. But yeah, no, it didn't happen, and Legend of Zelda won, so again, I haven't played 3 of the games that were announced here, Persona 5, Horizon Zero Dawn, or PUBG. Thank God that didn't fucking win. But, for me, that is probably Game of the Year. I'm still playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2 right now. But, yeah, I think that was a really good choice. Just the amount of joy I had playing that game right when it came out and going through for over 100 hours to beat the game. It was an absolute joy from start to finish. For Best Game Direction, yes, that went to Breath of the Wild. I got that wrong. No, I got that correct. I did do Breath of the Wild for that, so that's good. Best Narrative. So I had no idea about What Remains of Edith Finch. Maybe it's something I'll have to check out. Nothing that they showed me really caught my interest, though, but I got that wrong, and I guessed that Nier Automata would get the win. So, no, that wasn't wrong. That wasn't right. Best Art Direction I got right, of course. It was Cuphead, and they did pretty well throughout the entire awards show, which is pretty cool just to see, an indie game like this get a lot of attention like this. Again, if this indie game was a Nintendo exclusive, I can guarantee that this game would not be getting the amount of attention as it is here. 110%. Anyone try to fight me on that? There's absolutely no way that they would be getting that amount of attention if it was a Nintendo exclusive indie game. Best Score and Music, I put down Persona 5, but yeah, how I thought it would be is either between Nier or that. I've listened to the Nier soundtrack and I'm so excited to play the game, but yeah, that soundtrack is fucking amazing. I'm happy for all of them. Really, I think all of them have really great soundtracks, at least the 4 that I thought, which would be Persona 5, Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, or Nier. Audio design, so yeah, I got this wrong. I guess Breath of the Wild, because the whole game had a really cool kind of mix with the environmental sounds and everything like that. I imagine that was the runner-up, but I did not follow much of Hellblade. I've heard of it, but I didn't follow much of it, and honestly the game seems really interesting, and when I get a PS4 I'm probably going to play it, but Hellblade won that one. Best Performance, so again, Hellblade, Melina Juergens. Apparently she's not even a voice actress, which is really cool. But yeah, so I didn't know much about Hellblade. I guessed Ashley Birch for Horizon Zero Dawn. But yeah, you know what? Hellblade seems interesting, and I'll probably look for it on a sale soon. Games for Impact. Yes, this was Hellblade again. I guessed Life is Strange Before the Storm. But yeah, Hellblade. Again, they won that one. Best Ongoing Game. So I guessed PUBG, but Overwatch won. So, good for it. Best Mobile Game, I guessed correctly, Monument Valley 2. The games do look really interesting. I've only played a demo of the first one, but, I got that right. Best Handheld Game, I got this correct, Metroid Samus Returns. Again, I want to talk to you guys. I'll talk to you guys later in my rant about how they decide to announce some of these categories just in the background and not actually do an award for it. But you know what? I think Metroid Samus Returns definitely deserved it. Mercury Steam did a fantastic job on the game. It was definitely the best 3DS game I played this year. But to be honest, I haven't played the other 4 that they showed here. but I do want them. I definitely need Ever Oasis, Fire Emblem for sure, and Monster Hunter Stories. I'll probably skip out on getting Yoshi's Woolly World. The best VR and AR game, so yes, I got that correct. That's Resident Evil 7. I've only heard good things. Best action game, I got that correct as well with Wolfenstein 2. I'm really excited to play that next year on Switch. Best action adventure game, so again, yeah, this went to Breath of the Wild. I guessed that it would be Horizon Zero Dawn. Again, I thought they'd split up the awards. If Game of the Year went to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I thought they'd give action adventure to Horizon Zero Dawn, split it up like that, but apparently they didn't, and Horizon ended up getting snubbed, I think. But again, haven't played it, so honestly, it could be a terrible game and people are just trying to talk me up about it, but everything I've seen of Horizon, it looks fucking phenomenal. But best role-playing game. Again, this one pisses me off. Fuck. Again, this will be in the No Filter Rant about how they don't even announce this one or have an actual presentation for this. But Persona 5 wins. So that was my guess. I got that correct. And and again, I was surprised Nier was considered an RPG. But anyway, best fighting game. I got that wrong. Tekken 7 was my guess, but it was Injustice 2 that won. I swore Injustice 2 was received relatively poorly, so that was a huge surprise to me. I've heard all I've heard is great things about Tekken 7. I would have loved to see if ARMS won something like that to really switch it up and not just have sequels to all these other games. A unique game like ARMS I think would have been really good, but I guess it wasn't in the cards. For family, best family game, I guessed Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Honestly, it was probably a bad guess because it was an older game. I feel like they wouldn't want to give it to an older game. But Super Mario Odyssey won that one. Again, I feel like they just gave that to that one. Like, yes, it can be played by most people, but when I think family game, I think like multiplayer or like, I don't know, something like that, and like local multiplayer. And I don't think the whole hat mechanic was worthy of that, but hey, whatever. Best strategy game, I guessed Mario Rabbids, and that was correct. I'm really happy for that. That game is a fantastic game, and if the Switch didn't have so many other great games this year, that would have had much more of a highlight, and I feel like that and Splatoon 2, as well as a few other games, were kind of hidden under, everything else that was getting announced and coming out. But Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle was fucking awesome. Fantastic job by Ubisoft. The best sports and racing game, I guessed Forza 7, which was correct. Best multiplayer, I guessed PUBG, which was correct. Best most anticipated game, I guessed Last of Us, and that was correct as well. But there's a lot of games coming out next year, man. I don't think Switch can catch it. This year was the year of the Switch for sure, like all the games that came out for it and everything like that. But next year, I don't think Sony can get stopped whatsoever. Man, like, just look at this, just these 5 games alone: Last of Us Part 2, Red Dead Redemption 2, Monster Hunter World, Spider-Man, and God of War. I mean, this is a fucking big lineup here, people. And we already know there's going to be more. Like, we saw how bad their E3 was last year because everything they announced was 2018. And I think we're going to see the fruits of their labor here. I think they had to rely on the third-party games this end of this year, rounding it out. But 2018 is going to be fucking awesome. And I think that's a great time for me to jump into the PS4. So, pretty excited about that. Best independent game was Cuphead. Best student game, Level Squared. Again, I had no idea about any of these. I think I guessed Hollowed for my guess. Trending gamer, I guessed Andrea Renee because she's cute. I have no idea what these other people are, and I think this is one of the stupidest categories. Really kind of shows that this Game Awards show has some more work to do to make it seem more reputable. Best esports game, Overwatch. I guessed League, whatever. Best esports player was Faker. I guessed that right, just because I liked the name. I thought it was cool, whatever. Esports team, I guessed FaZe because I've just heard about them, but it was Cloud9 won. Again, stupid fucking categories, man. It should be about the games, the actual game content, not the fucking teams that go around it. What are they going to do, have the best Smash tournament player? No, that's fucking stupid. Best debut indie game was Cuphead. It was cool to see Golf Story in there. I was surprised that Mr. Shifty was in there. Like, I did enjoy the game, but it seemed like they like bought their way in, because there's so many other better indie games that came out mainly on Switch this year that weren't announced and should have been in there. But I've heard good things about Golf Story, and Cuphead won. They won quite a few. And I believe this is the last one, was Best Chinese Game, and it was JX3 HD. I had no idea. I guess Monument Valley 2, but that's not it. So that's it, guys. That's all the Game Awards. Again, I got 14 of 28, a 50% correct rating there, I guess. And, I think I did pretty good considering all the categories that either I didn't play all the games, or the categories that were just fucking stupid that had no reason being in a Game Award show. But, that's pretty much it. The next segment is going to be talking about the Game Awards and my criticisms and some of my thoughts coming out of the Game Awards in the No Filter Rant. So to start off, the first bit that I want to talk about is the tone of the entire Game Awards. So it's not nearly as bad as it was in the past, but they are making progress. But I think it's clear, and it's undoubtedly clear, that the inner kind of bias throughout the entire awards show against Nintendo is still present. It's not in anything they overtly did or announced or for any games that won, but you can just tell with announcements, with how they treat Nintendo when they're either going to stage, or with what awards they're actually going to announce on stage, or with when Jeff is talking to Reggie. You can tell that there is some sort of pushback with that. It's not a whole encompassing of the entire thing. It's just, you can tell that it's still there, and that's one criticism I have. But it does seem like they are progressing and trying to be inclusive of everybody, and not just pull their favorites and only go with that, and not, it just shows that there's still ignorance included throughout. Throughout some of the other topics here, you'll see kind of what I'm talking about. But for the one example here, look at how Jeff Keighley is. So when Reggie is out there and he's announcing Bayonetta 1 and 2, and then he shows Bayonetta 3, right after the Bayonetta 3 trailer, there's not even like some sort of acknowledgement from Jeff Keighley, whereas in all the other games he says, wow, that looks amazing, or oh wow, that's so exciting, can't wait to play that, blah blah blah. For Bayonetta 3, he goes straight, like literally, like the trailer's like music is basically still playing, and he's like, okay, on to the next thing, boom. It's a minor thing, it's not something it's too crazy, but it's there, and it's something that needs to be kind of called out, and you can kind of see how it is there. But you can just tell that a lot of the industry are still kind of against Nintendo, and this will be in another rant, mainly about IGN and some of the other sites later on in another episode. But that's one concern that I have here. And the other thing is the categories that they chose. So this isn't like a major thing, but some of the categories, like, come on, people. Like, you see some of the categories that they have here. So, like, Best Chinese Game. I get that they're trying to include that market, but why the fuck does that have to actually be there? Best Debut Indie Game. They already had Best Indie Game, right? Best Independent Game. Why the fuck do they need a Debut Indie Game? I don't know. Best Esports Team. Okay. The Game Awards, if you want them to be like an Oscars for the video game industry, it should be about what the games are, their content, stuff like that. It shouldn't be about the fucking community around it. It should be what is the best game, best art, best music, best certain genre. It shouldn't be about fucking esports players. It shouldn't be about trending gamers. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, if you want this to be a reputable fucking award show, it shouldn't have bullshit categories like that, and then you're excluding ones like Best Platformer. How the fuck is Best Platformer not included in the Game Awards? I think this is why the whole snub of Super Mario Odyssey is annoying to me, because they'll have categories like Best Action Game and Best Action Adventure Game, or they'll have Best Student Game for everybody that doesn't understand what the fuck. I get why you want Student Game, you're calling attention to other games out there, but literally no one else has played these games, and you're doing a Best Student Game thing, but you don't have fucking Best Platformer. Most Anticipated Game, it should be about the games that are already here. It doesn't, you're talking about stuff outside of what the games are, and it's getting away from the games, you're getting into more of the commentary of games, and that shouldn't be what the Game Awards is about. I don't know, that was just really annoying. There's no puzzle, there's no best puzzle game or anything like that. They have a fucking just the best family game, but they don't have fucking best platformer. I don't know. That just really kind of grinded my gears a little bit there. There could be a best rhythm game or something. It should be about the games, the substance of the games, not the fucking shit going on around it. Another issue I had with it is how they announced the category winners. So again, this kind of calls back to about the whole kind of general kind of industry bias against Nintendo here. It's when they announced some of the categories, you guys obviously saw when, there's another presenter walking out onto the stage. During that time, they'd have the girl over the back, just announcing, saying, hey, so the best strategy game was Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, and the best family game was Super Mario Odyssey. Why aren't they getting some of the attention? Like, I get that the show was already running long enough already, but when you're taking away so many of these things, and a lot of them just so happen to be Nintendo ones that Nintendo won, quite a few of them, best handheld game, best family game, best strategy game, best, it makes everything blatantly clear that you're avoiding those, and I think they need to figure out a better way to actually give everybody the attention they deserve there. Maybe do a gauntlet of award winners or something like that, or do 2 or 3 in the matter of 5 minutes or something, or do those and not have them, or shorten the amount of speeches they could do, or I don't know. It just, when they hide away the categories that actually are somewhat important, that's fine. I know they hid away the best, some of these other ones that were really kind of shitty categories, but then they have like a full segment talking to, who was it, Faker, like the best esports player. No one gives a fuck. It's about the games, not about the people playing them. It's the Game Awards. I don't know. It just grinded my gears with that. And again, it just so happens a lot of the winners there that they don't have come on stage are fucking games for Nintendo systems. I don't know. Again, you see these things here, and again, maybe it's not a blatant thing here, but something's up there. Another thing that I want to talk about with that is the advertisements. So throughout the whole Game Awards, I don't know what the percentage of the time was, but throughout, like, almost after every bit, they'd have a self-made advertisement. I get they need to make money, but when it's for games that are involved in the Game Awards, it makes the whole show seem a little more less illegitimate. When you have, I don't know, it's something about just doing these game advertisements throughout, like, I know Rocket League wasn't up for anything like that throughout the Game Awards, but seeing 3 different, commercials for Rocket League was a little bit weird, and seeing any sort of announcements for games or any commercials for games in the awards that actually have that game up for the running, it just didn't seem right to me. And I don't know, it was also a ton of these different commercials. I like that they were, game centric, and they didn't have to go to commercial and see, someone fucking using toilet paper or something, or brushing their teeth and trying to sell you that. But I don't know, it just didn't seem to go as well for me, and some of the flow was kind of ruined. They had that whole eBay deal. That was just so fucking weird. I don't know, that just didn't make sense to me, and it extended the whole show longer than it should have been. Again, I get that they need to make money off of it, but I'm hoping they can find a better way for the next show. I don't know. And kind of the last thing I wanted to talk about here was just the representation of the Japanese games industry throughout the entire show. This is both a good and kind of a critical thing I have to say about this here. So I love to see that a lot of the Japanese games are getting recognition finally in these Game Awards, because let's be honest, well, in my opinion, more often than not, Japanese companies are making better games. Again, that's completely entirely subjective, but how I see it is that they're actually creating stuff that is new and fresh. Sure, they might have, for example, JRPGs that keep a similar mechanic system, but they're creating new gorgeous worlds, new kind of narratives, new kind of things like that a lot of the time in some game. In again, I don't want to say most or anything like that, but a lot of the Western games aren't doing something like that. You know, you'll see new kind of things brought in with like The Last of Us and stuff. You'll see new kind of, you know, things like that Hellblade and stuff like that. But more often than not, you're going to get all those military shooters or sci-fi shooters that just kind of go with status quo and just kind of go into this multiplayer realm of the EA's play game as a service thing, you know? Whereas games from Japanese developers, at least here, you know, Persona 5, getting all that, you know, getting all the recognition, I fucking love seeing that. I love to see that that's there. I love to see that Nintendo won a Game of the Year, a Japanese company. I like to see that Nier is in a lot of them, Persona 5, Odyssey, Zelda, you know, all these Japanese type games, you know, Monster Hunter World as, you know, in anticipated games, you know, stuff like that. I like to see that Japanese games are getting somewhat more represented here than they ever were in past years. It shows that there is clearly a big bias against those games. But I think because, and again, this is both a positive and a negative how I see it, because it's PlayStation 4 showing these, with these games on, you know, as exclusives to that system, that is why they are getting some more mainstream appeal here. Try to tell me if if Persona 5 was a Nintendo Switch exclusive game, do you honestly think it would be getting nearly as much buzz from the rest of the industry as it is because it was a PS4 game? Seriously, if you honestly think that's how it is, because I don't know what it is with this is maybe a little tangent, but I don't know what it is with Persona games getting some more attention from the wider industry of gaming, whereas Shin Megami Tensei Apocalypse, for example, on 3DS, half the industry probably never even brought that game up ever, you know? Half that industry probably, when the Nintendo Switch had their presentation and they announced Shin Megami Tensei coming to Switch, people probably just looked away, you know what I mean? Whereas imagine if they just put a Persona thing on it and said it was on PS4, people would be flocking to it. And again, this is just one of those things where it's like, I'm so happy to see the Japanese games are getting kind of an extension now. You know, they're going out into the wider, I guess, mainstream Western market, like the gaming industry with the gaming sites and all that kind of stuff. But it's just funny that it's happening now when Nintendo has been championing these type of games for the last decade, and they weren't getting the recognition they 100% deserved, you know? Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I know that I guess it came out too late for it to be in the awards, but because it came out in December, I can already imagine that won't even get a single recognition next year's show. If it was a PS4 exclusive, though, I think that'd be a totally different story here. Again, maybe some conspiracy theory, maybe I'm completely fucking wrong and ignorant, but no, I think I'm catching on to something here, and again, I'm really happy to see that it's doing, that Japanese games are kind of going in there, and then people are actually playing it. They're getting a little more mainstream. But you know, again, if it was a Nintendo Atlas game, fuck no, they would never acknowledge that shit. Just won't happen. Anyway, guys, so just overall, the Game Awards, I think, yes, this was the best Game Awards yet, but there's still a lot that they can improve on. You know, no matter how much it seems that Jeff Keighley's trying, I see, you know, I follow him on Twitter and stuff. Follow me on Twitter at Wizrad. You know, I follow him on Twitter and I see that, you know, he's putting all this effort into it. At least that's how he makes it seem with his posts. But, you know, he still has this kind of industry bias that he's carrying. And if he really wants to make this a reputable game award show for everybody, all gamers, they need to smarten up with some of this stuff. They need to fix this, and I know it's probably going to take some time. You can't just flick a switch and fix that, but it's got to happen. And again, it might sound just hypocritical that I'm saying that, even though, you know, Zelda Breath of the Wild won Game of the Year, but, you know, if Zelda didn't win Game of the Year, I'm pretty sure even people that hate Nintendo were like, you know, inside they'd probably be like, oh shit, Zelda kind of got robbed, didn't it? You know? Anyway, I don't know. That's just kind of my thoughts about this. I probably just, you know, showed more ignorance than I needed to there. I just kind of rambled on for a little bit, but, you know, tell me what you guys think about what you think about, you know, all of that. I don't know if I made complete sense with it, but again, the bias is there. It's just not as bad as it used to be, and I'm hoping that it kind of gets fixed in the future. And that is it. Thank you guys so much for listening to No Filter, a Nintendo Podcast, Episode 3. Again, thank you guys all for the support. I really appreciate any comments you guys can leave. Let me know what you guys thought about the Game Awards, what you think about my rant today, or what you think about Floor Kids, or any of the topics that I brought up in today's episode. Again, I mentioned last week about, for anyone listening to the end of the podcast, so for this one, I want to do something with an actual reward here this time. So if you're listening right now, please leave in the comments that, hey, you mentioned that you would buy me an indie game on Switch. That's all I need to see. Whoever is that user, we can then discuss, and I'll kind of determine what indie game I'll be getting you. I don't want to be too much money or anything like that, but we'll decide. So whoever's listening to the podcast all the way to the end, make sure you go on No Filter and Nintendo Podcast, the YouTube channel, and leave that message. If not, you can also leave me a message on Twitter at Wizrad. Whoever is the first person to do so, they will win a indie game on Nintendo Switch that I will buy for them. So again, we'll see who's actually listening right to the very end, and that's how it's gonna go. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and again, No Filter Nintendo Podcast Episode 4 will be out next week. Hope you guys enjoy and have a good night.